what do you want? Do you want? Don't not what Ryan says you want, not what Cody said you should want, not what Roger or Brian said you should want, not what John said you should want. I'm asking you, what do you want?
Welcome back, everybody. This is Ryan Anderson with Annuity Fundamentals and your one-stop shop for all things, insurance and growing your business. Today, we are really blessed to have an amazing guest with us. This is Rocky Garza. He's an executive coach and really specializes in helping people having a meaningful life and a successful career. Rocky, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to visit with you.
Of course. I appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. I have the opportunity to work across multiple industries, insurance being one of those industries, and I have a few of our executive clients that are in the industry space as well in our leadership program. So I know enough about insurance to be a little bit dangerous. So I don't know that if you're checking out and listening today and you're thinking this is the one tip that's really going to get you over the edge in insurance, we're going to get you there. Or maybe we're just going to come around it from the other direction. So I would love to know, Ryan, from you, and I think to make the best use of our time and for the listeners who are joining us now is from your perspective. You've got a lot of experience in the industry. Mm-hmm. You've been in the industry a long time. Again, you've seen it from multiple products and I'm sure at different agencies. What would you say, knowing, the audience that we have here with us, what is one or two or three of like the main issues that you see people facing? Because I think from my perspective as an outsider, sort of I could glean a little bit of light or a little bit of wisdom sort of into what you already know would be the main things people are facing. Maybe we could spend a little bit of time doing that.
The thing about it is the insurance world, that people join this because it comes with a lot of great things. It comes with freedom. It comes with autonomy. It comes with that schedule. It comes with a healthy income once you get into it, but there's a period of time to get there. But over the years, I've noticed that there's three primary reasons why people fail. And I mean, Cody, we like to refer to Cody Askins a lot, and he's got that 8% nation because only 88% of people that start in this business a year later are here. It's a 92% failure rate. And I think that there's three big reasons why they aren't successful. Number one is they come into it undercapitalized. They're expecting to have income a lot faster than is really realistic, or they're still got that 9-to-5 mindset where I get paid every 2 weeks. So the undercapitalization is a big one. The second one is they don't really have a system that they work, that they're really busy, but they're not productive. The correlation between activity and profitability is not there. And the third one is a really surprising for a lot of folks, and that is lack of support from their significant other. That if we've got their spouse or their partner is on board or not really on board with this, or very quickly jump ship after they get started, that it's generally one of those three things that I've seen when people fail in the industry.
Okay. It's interesting. I think I have a theory, Ryan, that I call the upside down. And it's very profound, actually. Really, the only theory is that most things that we do and say, I think we tend to speak backwards, but we don't ever give ourselves the opportunity to get to the end and sort of reflect and walk ourselves back to where we just came. And so I'm going to sort of do that with these three issues. I mean, we'll work ourselves in reverse order. And the theory of the upside down works everywhere with any question, any topic. Ask someone a question, they give you an answer. Say, tell me about that. Tell me about that's my most favorite phrase in the world, because it's quite inquisitive without saying why, because nobody wants to be asked why, but tell me about that. And so I think we'll sort of work our way here. So you said that folks, that the main three issues they find, they're undercapitalized, meaning they don't have enough money banked up in order to get going into the industry because they don't have enough friends and family to last them for the first 6 months of their career. Secondly, just systems, that they like the ability to mistake activity for progress, and that they're busy, but they're actually going nowhere. And so because they had no system, what does James Clear say in Atomic Habits? You'll never reach the height of your dreams. You're only able to fall to the degree of your systems. And if you don't have a system, you typically fall all the way to the bottom. And then lastly, just lack of support. And that whether that's from your partner, your spouse, your family, whoever it is that maybe is relying on your capacity to create income. So we're going to go in reverse order. We're going to go the upside down, because I think if we go the other way around, I believe that that's probably a better indicator for where we can help someone succeed. So let's start at the bottom, the lack of support. Okay. Lack of support, I often find across any industry. The lack of support is actually secondary to the initial issue. And the initial issue is lack of belief. Lack of belief in self. The result of that is almost always lack of support of others.
So let me make sure I understand what you just said. So if I don't believe in myself enough, then the people around me aren't going to support me in that?
100%. 100%.
Really?
Especially if you're going into a career where you're the main breadwinner, or you're at least hoping to create a significant secondary income in the family that is probably necessary, not just for fun. Lack of self-belief will drive lack of belief that others have in you, because most of us, unless we're keenly aware 100% of the time, which I've never met a person who's 100% aware 100% of the time.
Right.
Most of what we are getting, and it's sort of like dolphins. I know it's a weird example, but dolphins, right? They use sonar. They send out a little signal and it comes back, and they send it out and it comes back. Most of us operate that way with other people. We send out a signal. We want to see how they're doing. We want to check in and see their feelings. They seem to be in a good mood. They send back good vibes. Guess what? We're in a good mood. We go to have a client meeting. We send things out. We're testing the waters, and they're excited about insurance. They're excited about our products. Guess what? We can't wait to get them a good answer. But in the initial meeting we call, and the first thing we get is an objection. What do most of us do? And no worries. Hey, I appreciate you so much. We hang up the phone. So I think similarly with us, especially you're getting into, whether it's insurance or any career, the awareness and our capacity to have belief of self, I believe, is the initial driver in our ability to surround ourselves with people who also believe in us. And I'm not going to put you on the spot, so we'll answer theoretically, right? We'll answer theoretically, not necessarily what Ryan's experience has been per se. Yeah. But I'm sure you've had agents work with you before that come in and they really believe that they can, and you would say those are some of your favorite people. And you've had agents come in who have lack of belief and they doubt themselves and they can't quite get their brain around why they're capable. And we would say those people are exhausting.
You know, one of the things here about this, yes, I agree with everything you just said. Two real thoughts come to mind here on this one. That I had one of the first companies I worked for, the owner of the agency would sit down when I got promoted to management. He says that agents are going to go out every day and they're going to come up with a dozen reasons why they can't do this. And it's your job as the manager to prove every one of those wrong. That you need to go through and tell them and show them how and why they can do this. And I always thought that was exhausting. And he came at to me and was like, and I didn't believe him at first. And then all of a sudden, as people come into it, I'm not sure if I can do this. And I was like, yeah, you can. Then we explain to him why and help him through it. But I sit here and I want to use myself as an example. I've got an entrepreneurial personality. I always wanted to run my own thing. I've always run my own business. And I've had some businesses that I've owned and created that have been very successful. Others that have fallen flat and failed in a big way. Cost me a lot of money, heartache, and grief. And as I go through and I look at this, my wife, very not that. She is not a risk taker. She is not. If she could go through and she wants that 9 to 5. I want my paycheck. I want to be done with it at the end of the week, and can't understand why other people just don't like that. And I can't understand why you'd want to be trapped by that. And so very, very different. And we've kind of come to an agreement or an accord of, well, okay, you do your thing. As long as there's money in the bank at the end of the month, I'm fine. And I just don't want to know what you've got going on because it stresses me out. Yep. And so, and it's just, so I can totally see that. I'd never thought of that.
Yeah, and so again, you gave us a perfect example of your belief in self actually potentially has moments that it is so high, there is not even a need for the support or belief from someone else. Now, over time, relationships, marriage, yes, we want to know that they trust us, and we want to know, and all that is a part of support, right? Support doesn't mean that you have to do it for me. Support just maybe means that you believe in me to believe in me. So I think many folks, especially new agents, there is this self-doubt that creeps in because the insurance business in and of itself is very simple and wildly complex. Yes. And I think both of those things are true. And when you've been in the industry for a while, you go, it's so simple. Just do these 3 things. But as someone who's never done it, you're asking me to do 3 things that have 9 steps each with 2 subpoints. And I have to figure out what these 77 things are I'm supposed to do on a regular basis to be successful. But we've boiled it down to it's the 3 easy steps of insurance. It's the three easy ways to transition into annuities and larger ticket items. Right. I know it makes that sense to you. That's like saying it's the 3 easy steps to just throw the baseball 10 miles an hour harder. Yeah, I understand what I do with my knee and my hip and my arm, but my knee, hip, and arm don't do that. They don't know how to do that. I'm glad that yours do, Mine don't. And so I think there's often, even you use the word, you had a person some one point in your life that said it's your job as a manager to do those things. I would even say, because I like to push buttons, Ryan, I would say managers say, did you or did you not do your task? Leaders say, do you or do you not believe that you can?
That's a great point. I have never thought of it that way, because I think back, I've been manager for decades, and everybody fancies themselves. If you go through and you look at the good to great, I'm a level 5 leader, I'm a level 4. I mean, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. The thought process. Did you get it done? Did you not? But I love that. Say that one more time, just because I want to hear it again. I want to write it down.
Yeah, well, I'll do my best. You'll learn it. You'll learn about me, Ryan. I'm real good at saying things one time, but I'll see if I can get there. But I think oftentimes a manager's job is to ask me whether or not I did a task. A leader's job is to ask me whether or not I believe that I can.
That is
right.
amazing.
And I think there's something too often, especially in the weeds, and especially as both a manager and producer, if you will. Maybe we can find better words later. But if you're an agency owner, most agency owners, to some degree, are still producing. They're still writing with their own pen, right? Maybe not as much as they did. Maybe they write less, but they're bigger tickets or whatever. Nonetheless, most agents that I know who have an agency that's not beyond the 9 figures, that's right, in the high 6 to early 7-figure agency, is typically still writing. It's really, really hard though to be a writer and to be a manager and to be a leader, because all three of those are very different things. Yet if we spend the majority of our time writers, as an individual contributor, that's a doer. As a manager, that is somebody who is making sure the progress of other people's doings makes sense. Then 66.6 at minimum % of our time, if we just use 3 things and divide it by 2, is spent with the idea of task preparation and task completion, not on the innate ability of a person to be able to understand why they can or cannot do it. And so I don't think it's a fault per se of agency owners or even managers to that degree, but I think it's a very conscious thing that we have to work through. Let's go to your second problem that you said, because we've covered lack of support. The second problem then you said would be systems. It is mistaken activity for progress. So what if we were willing to put a mirror in front of us rather than look out a window? The window would say, let me go see what everybody else is not doing and why their systems suck. A mirror would say, why do I have a system as a theoretical leader that causes me to spend 75% of my time as a manager? Because I would say the lack of system your agent has is the lack of system you have as a leader.
That is fantastic. And I'm sitting here is that I think that there's something that comes with life, a little bit of maturity, doing this a few times, to be able to really internally look at yourself and say, okay, I dropped the ball there. That agent failed because of me here, right, and here. And this agent over here, if I would have done this, they might have been able to make it. I can see here where they, didn't come into work until, noon 5 days a week. Okay, that's why they failed there. But you mentioned James Clear, that book of his Atomic Habits, one of my favorites, the quote of we don't fall to the rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. I've got it printed on a plaque right over here. It's fantastic. And I think about the producer, the manager, the leader. When I got promoted from I had a small team in southern Idaho, and the agency I was working for opened up an office up in northern Idaho and pretty much gave me, here's the office, we'll with the recruiters, we'll get everything going, you're on your own. And I started to build a team, but I was floundering. The team wasn't doing well, I wasn't doing well. And it's because I was trying to be a producer and a manager. I hadn't even graduated to the leader phase yet. I mean, and in hindsight, I thought I was a leader at the time, but I wasn't. I was just, fumbling the football 6 ways from Sunday. Yep. And the same guy came to me and said, all right, you need to figure out where you're at. Are you going to be an agent? You're going to be a manager. And as soon as I stopped being an agent and I basically passed off my responsibilities of my clients, focused on my agents as a manager, and then started to dip my toe in the leadership thing, my income tripled in literally a year. And their productivity shot up. And it was hard because I was terrified about losing the income from those clients that I was no longer managing.
Sure. I think I want to make a note here because I don't want to falsely lead someone. Mm-hmm. And not everyone's going to like this, but not everyone is designed to be a leader and run an agency.
I agree.
Otherwise, we would all be agency owners, and none of us would be working for anybody else. But that's not how life works. So, and it's not, and I want to be very clear if you're listening, that is not better or worse or good or bad or right or wrong. The level in which you fall inside of an organization or a system is not ever directly predicated to your value as a human being. Those things will never, ever be synonymous. And if they are, or if you find yourself in an organization where you feel like they are, I would strongly to encourage you to ask yourself, is that a place that you want to be? But we're not all designed to be agency owners. We're not all designed to manage 50 other agents. We're not all designed, mostly because that would be weird. That's like saying that everyone is designed to be a CEO. We just haven't arrived yet. No, you're not. No, we are not. 99.5% of people were not made or designed to ever be the CEO of an organization. That doesn't make that 0.5% better. It just makes them different. And that 0.5 can't be successful without the other 99.5% of the rest of us who found to be good and true at what we're great at. I think because we create such a tiered system in the industry, insurance industry is as guilty as this as anybody else. So let's just assume we're all guilty because we're human beings. Like, we love to build a system that we take someone's capability or even design and try to create a valuation system so that we can determine whether they are or are not good for us. And I think I often say my job is not to tell you what a good leader looks like. My job is to help you see what you look like as a good leader. And some of you, what you look like as a good leader is an incredible individual contributor. You sell, you make six figures, you go home, you coach your kids' team, you enjoy your family, and that's your job. That's what you were made to do. But I need to be a builder. But I need to find 15 other agents, and I need to, maybe, or maybe you don't. Maybe that's not you.
I got to tell you, you're hitting on lessons that a lot of me and my colleagues have learned the hard way. And again, I'll go back to this other organization I worked with. Great. And the thing about it is the way they identified their leaders was, or their managers will say, who can sell a lot? Who are our heavy producers? They clearly know how to produce, so therefore they can go through and they can lead other people and teach them how to produce. I've got two business partners here with Annuity Fundamentals. It's myself, Kylie, who's normally with us, and then Angelique. Now, Angelique is one of the most talented, gifted salespeople I've ever known. And when we were in our organization previous to this, she was, again, a gifted salesperson. And the way that organization moved people forward was, if you can produce, we're going to put you into management, we're going to build a team. She was one of the worst as far as trainers and that I'd ever seen. And the reason being is that she could not articulate what she did to somebody else. She instinctively went in there, read the room, could read the client, gave them what they needed, closed the deal.
Yep.
And she could not explain how she did it or anything else. And as a result of that, the people that she tried to train struggled. Now, there's several of them did very, very well, but as a result of that, there was a lot more effort that needed to back her up, simply because she was very clearly a producer, not a teacher. Yeah. And and that particular system did not accommodate for that.
Yeah. Well, and I think we look in so many other places that we actually validate a system that we know works, and then we look internally in other areas and we go, it could never be. Mm-hmm. How many quarterback coaches do we know in the NFL that actually ever played quarterback at a high level?
Oh, very few. Very, very few.
How many? And pick any position for that matter, right?
Yeah.
Now, I will say maybe there's other sports where that's not the case. Maybe you do have a lot of ex-players who inevitably go into the system at somehow or some way. But for the most part, right? But for the most part, not a lot. So why do we go there and we go to make the very best quarterback in the entire world? We should ask the quarterback to only be trained by other quarterbacks, or should we ask the quarterback to be trained by someone whose job it is to make that quarterback the very best that quarterback could ever be, because of something that they're great at? And so I think sometimes we look at our own life, or we look at our own job, or we look at ourselves and we say, I got to be able to do it by myself. Every single business in the world, I don't care what industry you're in, hires another business to help them do something they can't do. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, none of us would have a job. That's literally the reason we all have jobs, is because we solve a need for someone that they can't solve themselves. Yet we consistently believe it's our job to do it alone.
You know, I got to tell you, I've worked with a couple of individuals, and two of them really come to mind over the years. Talented individuals, really, really good individuals. And this one particular person, They wanted to do it all. They struggled delegating. And I remember sitting down and it was like, we need a website. Oh, I'm watching YouTube videos so I can build the website. We need to get some SEO going so we can get some advertising going. Oh, I'm watching YouTube. It's like, dude, you're the CEO. Hire that out. How much is your hour? I mean, let's go through how much profitability did the company make last year. All right, how many hours a week? Divide that. Okay, that's how much you make an hour. So if you're making $300 an hour, just making a number up here, let's go hire some SEO guy for $40 an hour who actually knows what they're doing and save the company some money. And that process. But as a result of that, what happened was we never got it, and the stuff we did was done poorly. Just because we had people that were trying to do it all that did not outsource it. Especially in the insurance industry, this drives me nuts because our whole pitch is we need to find people who need our solutions because they don't know what they don't know. They need us as an expert to help them, and we're not willing to take our own advice. I'm
with you. And I think that's the case. That's the case anywhere, everywhere. Like, I think when we don't give ourselves the ability to recognize where we do need support and we do need help, then we inevitably feel like we're supposed to have this fairy tale of pick yourself up by your bootstraps and you did it by yourself and you're going to be the underdog. And I don't want to be the underdog. I'm sure it will be sexy as a Netflix special, but I don't see myself getting one of those. So I want to just do it well now. I don't need to have the rags to riches story. I just need to have the story that says daily I showed up and did the things I thought I was capable of and asked for help as often as I possibly could and was able to build a life that I believed in. And I know it's not sexy, and I know you don't get a ton of followers from that, and I know not everybody wants to listen to your podcast because of that. And I know, and I say that from a very deep convictional space. I have been in the industry I'm in as a coach and a consultant and a speaker for over a decade, coming on 15 years. I've been on social media since it was invented. I have posted regularly for over 5, 6, 7 years regularly on platforms you can choose. We post 5 days a week on 5 platforms and 7 days a week on 2 platforms. And I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you, as somebody who invests money and thinks I'm given the things that are worthy and valuable and valuable always isn't sexy. Worthy and valuable isn't always going to get you viral. Worthy and valuable it's going to be slow and thoughtful and intentional and methodical and purposeful. And at the end of your life, at the end of decades, you may look back and say, wow, look, I'm really proud of that thing that I built. And so I think as we look through here, going back to your point earlier, lack of support begins with self. What do you know, think, and believe about yourself? When that is accomplished and you find the support of those around you, you inevitably build better systems. That's both you join an agency that has good systems of management and leadership, and you find as an individual, what is a system for me that's going to allow me to get to where I want to go? The third issue is that I'm undercapitalized. I'm undercapitalized because I don't have an idea about what I actually want, and I believe someone's video that said if I did this for 30 days, I too could make 6 figures. And the reality is you can't. You can't make 6 figures in 30 days. That doesn't make any sense. However, you can absolutely build a system that will get you to the place that you want to be. However, I think most of the time we are under capitalized is simply a result, just like we talked about lack of support is a result. Undercapitalization is a result of the fact that you don't know what you want. So I would encourage you, before you join an agency, what do you want? Do you want? Don't not what Ryan says you want, not what Cody said you should want. Not what Roger or Brian said you should want. Not what John said you should want. I'm asking you, what do you want? Do you want to be able to work 31 hours a week in a time frame that is purposeful and useful when your clients are actually going to pick up the phone? Because you know you need to generate $4,200 a month, which is $200 more than you made at your previous job, because that's what you need. And then you want to do that for 6 months so that you can buy your time back, so you can spend time with your family, so that in a year from now, you're making $5,800 a month, so that in 2 years from now, you're making $9,000 a month, and you've doubled your income in a 24-month period, which is a raise you're never going to get from the job that you came from. But it's because you had a clear understanding so that you could get the support you wanted, so you didn't go to your partner, your spouse, or your family and make a lie and say, I'm going to do this job because I'm going to make $100,000 next week, because you're not. So what do you want? And I think if we could start there, we would have a much clearer picture of how do we build the systems in order to find the support. And ultimately, I think it comes down to who we are as a human being and making a determination about our value rather than trying to make a determination about what we're worth based on our capacity to sell something.
You know, you just hit such a chord for me. I had a dear friend came to me, and I was sitting there. It's like, hey, I'm looking to make a change. I'm looking to kind of go out on my own, do something. This is a couple of years ago. And he sat down and he said, you need to do 2 or 3 things. The first thing you need to do is, who is your ideal client? Who do you like to work with? And I was like, okay. And I sat down and I wrote it out. And he says, and define for me your perfect day. Then he went through and I did that. And then he says, how do you translate that into a way to make a living? And it was so simple, but it was such an epiphany to me that I realized, okay, I don't want to work with this category of individuals. I want to work with this category of individuals, and this is the part of my job and my career that I love. And oddly enough, the things that I love doing, I tended to be really good at. And then kind of leveraging it over there, and that conversation literally changed my life, to go through and to look at that as far as and it helped me create some realistic goals to go through as far as those income piece. It drives me nuts because I think it hurts the industry. It is something you just swerved into, and that is everybody goes on to Craigslist or Indeed or whatever and looking for, I'm not happy where I am. Let me find a job. It's like, $100,000 your first year guaranteed. Our agents average, X amount, and when the industry nationwide is like 51,000, and that includes the people that are new and actually know what they're doing. And as far as if everybody's making that kind of money, then we wouldn't have a 92% failure rate. So I love that.
Right, and I think that lends itself to, and I say this like in the most kind, loving, hopefully encouraging way that I possibly can. The intent is not to try to be a jerk or make anyone feel bad. Mm-hmm. Like, statistics exist for a reason. Data exists for a reason. Standards exist for a reason. So for us all to walk around believing that we're going to be the anomaly, we're going to be the one that does it faster and quicker than, and maybe that is you, but you will be so much more satisfied, I believe, if you'll create a realistic, not pessimistic, not downing, not, this is awful, but a realistic viewpoint about where your life currently is, where it is you think you want your life to go, and then what's going to be required for you to get there. Past performance is a beautiful indicator of future success in every aspect of your life. So for you to assume that today is going to be the day that your past performance no longer is an indicator for your future success because this time you're going to do it totally different. I believe that you could do it totally different, but you're going to need to believe that you can. You're going to need a system in order for you to get there, and a realistic viewpoint about what it is that you want, because what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing every day, the exact same way, but expecting a different result. So don't do that to yourself. Give yourself a very clear picture, and as often as you can, ask for help.
Rocky, I can't believe this has been fantastic the last, half hour. So we're going through and do this. Now, the things that you say make sense to me. They're common sense. They strike a chord with me. If I wanted to get together with you and learn more about this, as far as come out with you and get coached by you, how would I go about doing that?
Yeah. The easiest way, you can go to rockygarza.com/confidence. Again, that's rockygarza.com/confidence. At the end of this month, I'll be hosting a leadership training. You can come, your whole team can come. If you're listening, you and your team can come. It's absolutely free for you, just so you can register and sign up on rockygarza.com/confidence. And then again, from there, if there's other things that you're interested in, whether that's coaching, whether that's speaking, that's a workshop for your team, you can always just go to rockygarza.com, fill out the contact form there, and we'll get a hold of you. I'm pretty easy to find. Not a lot of Rocky Garzas out there, and so on most platforms, it's just at Rocky Garza. So whatever is your platform of choice, I'd be honored to speak with you.
Hey, thank you so much. I truly appreciate this. This has been time well spent. And really, as far as we do a lot of these episodes, but as I'm sitting here listening to this is one that somebody can go through, and these common problems, they've given you a very clear piece. How do I address this? I mean, and it's right. Now, this episode was brought to us by leadshop.org. If you need help, if you're holding seminars or need a CRM, they're the ones that will go through and help you take care of that. So go ahead and check out leadshop.org. Thanks everybody else for going ahead and joining us today. If you've got any, we'd love to have you follow us. We'd love to have you comments, questions. If there's an episode you'd like to hear or a subject matter you'd like, please throw that in the comments and we'll see what we can do for that. As always, like, subscribe, do all those buttons below. You know what to do. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week. Have a great day.